Hello and welcome to video 2 on Advanced Qualtrics Experimental Design. In this video, we're going to take our survey that we created, we're going to add embedded data with randomization, we're going to add pipe text, we're going to create branching logic, show you how to work with videos and timing, then how to test everything and download the data to make sure the structure is all set before it's launched. So going back to our survey, we already did the skip logic. We added and recoded all these different variables, made that randomization. We're going to add a quick display logic for this question. So if a respondent selects disagree or strongly disagree with this statement, we're going to go ahead and give them a follow-up question. Let me just go ahead and change this. So I'm going to click on this question, Q6, add display logic. And so it's going to be Q5. You can see my interests are not represented. So just by if selected, and I'm going to go ahead and do the strongly agree, and just change this from an and to an or, and save that. That way, if they select this or this, disagree or strongly disagree for my interests aren't being represented, then they're going to be seen or shown this question. Great. Let's go ahead and we can do a quick preview just to make sure that's working right. Okay, that looks good. We can also make that an inline instead by just clicking on edit and make that in page so it pops up exactly when it's seen. Great. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add some randomization and embedded data. So embedded data is a way to store information about a respondent in the background of Qualtrics. The respondent is never aware of the embedded data's existence, but it does help us figure out when we collect the data which group they were assigned to. So in experiment 1, we either want to show 50 or 500 to the respondent. So we're going to create a randomization that's going to randomly select one of the two, and we're going to put embedded data that we can figure out which group they were assigned to, and then pipe that assignment, the 50 or the 500, into this question. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go ahead and go to survey flow. After block 2, which is our demographics block, I'm going to add below, and I'm going to go ahead and click on embedded data. So the name of the field, I'm going to go ahead and call this amount. Actually, before I do that, I need to add a randomizer. So I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to add a randomizer, and I'm going to add 2 new elements here, an embed. So I'm going to call this amount, embedded, and the amount there. Great. So now what we can do is it's going to present, I'm going to change this from 2 of the 2 to 1 of the 2. That way it's only assigning one or the other. We both have amount here. Now we have to set the value. I'm going to change this to $50, and I'm going to set this as 500. Great. So what we're going to do now is once a participant's gone through the demographics question, in the background, they randomly assigned either 500 or $50. They never see this component. I'm going to click on Save Flow here. I'm going to go back to our experiment 1 question, and then where we have this 50, 500, I'm going to go ahead and highlight that and remove it. I'm going to click on where it says piped text. I'm going to click on embedded data field. In the dropdown, I'm going to find amount. Now I'm going to insert. So it's $E ://field/amount. Now they're not going to see this, so they're only going to see what was piped in. Great, so let's go ahead and let's run through the survey really quick just to see what this looks like. I'm going to click on the preview option. And skip through all of these for now. So right now it said, okay, I was randomly assigned to the 50 condition. Notice that it doesn't have that information, and I have no other way to notice that I was randomly assigned. Let's try it again. By this time I was put in the 500 condition. So this all looks great. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this preview mode. So that's how you can use randomization, embedded data, and then go ahead and pipe that condition, the 50 versus 500, into a question itself. Fantastic. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and use a second example. In this one, we have two different groups. We have our treatment. Oops. This would actually say our control and our treatment. Apologies about that. And I reversed them, so let me go ahead and correct that. There we go. So what I'm going to do now is we're actually going to insert the Greenpeace logo here. I'm going to go to Rich Content Editor. I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to go ahead and insert an image. I'm going to upload a new visual. I'm going to upload the Greenpeace logo. Okay, great. So now we've added that visual. Now what I want to do is we're going to randomly assign whether they're in the experiment or the control. So to do that, we're going to go back to our survey flow, and we're actually going to, right after the informed consent, we're then going to actually randomly assign them here. So we have that early on. So we're going to go ahead and click on Add Below. I'm going to click on Randomizer. And below here, I'm going to add in two embedded datas. I'm going to call this group. Embedded data, I'm going to go ahead and, from existing, put group there too. And we can either call this 1 or 2. I'm going to call this one, let's say treatment and control. Great. So now what I do is, so we have that. So we have those and those. So let's go ahead and I'm going to add a new element. I'm going to have this be a branch. And I'm going to go ahead and move this. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and add a branch here. And I'm going to move it so it's there. So that way we can go ahead. So after we've done this first experiment, oops, let me go ahead and move this down here for now. So we have the assignment up early. They're going to get one of the following here. And you can actually have this a little bit, as long as it's before the branching, it's fine. So it really depends if you want to do this early on with random assignment at the start of the experiment or midway through. It just really depends. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and add in a condition. So I'm going to change this from condition to embedded data. I'm going to type in group, because that's what we had before here. Group is equal to treatment. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move our experiment block so it's right there. I'm going to add a condition here. Embedded data group is equal to control. I'll add that, and I'm going to go ahead and move our control so now it's below here. So they're going to get branched after experiment 1, depending on what group they are, and then shown here. So they'll only be shown, if they're in treatment, they're going to see the experiment. If they're in the control, they're only going to see the control. Then everyone, once they're done with that, they come back to our block DV for experiment 2. So this block DV, we want to make sure it's not here because otherwise this other group doesn't see it. I'm going to save the survey flow. Let's go ahead and preview this and see what it looks like. So I was randomly assigned to the 500 condition, and I was assigned to the treatment group. And if I click on the next one, there's our dependent variable. That looks great. Let's go ahead and try it again. I was assigned to the control this time. So that's working perfectly. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. So now that we've done the 2 different experiments, I'm going to show you how to work with a video. So within this one, everyone's going to see the video. I'm going to click on the question, go to Rich Content Editor. I'm going to press Enter. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually go ahead and we're going to embed a video. So I'm going to insert media. And then what I do is in there, I'm going to go ahead and paste this URL. Oh, it's not supported. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is okay, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to the video. So I'm going to hope the worksheet I have. We're going to open up the video itself. And I'm going to click on the share option. From here, we want the embedded. And I'm going to go ahead and copy this entire embedded code here. So I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go ahead and move this aside. I'll move this aside as well. And what I'm going to do now is we're going to click on this source code here. So I'm press enter. I'm going to paste this. And I'm going to click outside of it. Now what we've done is we've actually embedded this video into it. So I'm going to press enter, give it a little bit more space there. And there we have the video itself. So that looks great. So what we want to do though is we also want to make sure that we're able to record how long a respondent spends on this. Do they watch the whole video? Do they skip ahead with it? So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to add timing to this. So I'm going to add a question. And under this question tab, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add timing. We can also go ahead and move this question up, and that'll be fine. So I'm going to put this as timing. So you can also have it so it will auto advance. It'll kind of show a timer. We're not going to show a timer because that'll be visible to the participants. We're not going to force them to stay on this. We just want to figure out how long they spent on it. Great. So we've done that, and then everyone's going to be able to proceed to this video afterwards, and we're not using any sort of skip logic or display logic here. So this all looks great. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to preview the survey, and then I'm going to go ahead and show you how to create some example responses. We're going to make sure that the structure looks right, and I'll show you how to download the data to verify that. So I'm going to go into the preview option. I'm just going to try it a couple of times and just make sure everything looks good. Let's see. Okay, so that's displaying right. That disappears, perfect. We were in the $50 position, that looks good. We were in the control here. Now, the participant will not actually see this. We're just seeing this because we're in the preview mode as the creator. We can watch the video. We can select there. And then the debriefing statement. I'm going to go ahead and just double check some different combinations. This all looks good. Let's see what happens. So again, this is all being randomized. We were in the $50 one this time. I was in the treatment one this time. There's the outcome variable again. There's the video, the final dependent variable, and a debriefing statement. This all looks great. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to double check the structure of the data by generating fake responses. So to do that, I'm going to go to Tools. The first we want to do is we want to publish this. We also have the anonymous link here. And let's say that before we actually do this tools, go to survey options. We want to make sure back button is not enabled. What we can also do is we can prevent ballot stuffing. So we can prevent people from taking more than once. It uses a cookie system. And what we'll do is we also want to anonymize responses. I don't want GPS location or IP information. So that way it's completely anonymous. That looks great. So I'm going to save that and I'm going to publish that. If you wanted to then distribute the link, you can go over here and there's different ways, like we have the anonymous link. We can also use social media if you want. So it kind of really depends. Now I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick test. I'm going to go to Tools. I'm going to go to Review, Generate Test Responses, and I'm going to have it generate, let's say 100. That's going to just randomly filter through all of the possible different options 100 times. So it's potentially creating 100 respondents. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Data and Analysis tab. Again, randomly selecting. And let me go ahead and update that. There's 104, recently added. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to export the data. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and use choice text for now rather than numeric. And I'm just going to open up the data set just to see what the structure looks like. Just to make sure we didn't miss anything. I also want to check to make sure. Oops, let me move that over. Just got to extract it first. Okay, so we have our variable names here. Notice how the ones we've actually created and renamed it, it's there. We have the research, the questions themselves, and then the imports, we can actually remove that Q3. But now we can see, okay, all the information here. We have the previews that we did, then we have all the 100 tests that they made 100% through, even though, so if they clicked on no, notice that there's nothing else here for them. That's great. We also have at the end of this, we also have whether they're in the treatment or in the control, which is fantastic. We want this information, as well as were they given the $50 or the $500. So this all looks great. I'm gonna go ahead and close out of this. I'm not gonna save it. I'm gonna go ahead, oops. Apologies, that was the wrong button. So I'm gonna close or get rid of that. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the test. So I'm gonna remove the, just have to wait for that to finish cycling through. There we go. So I'm gonna remove the previews. So I'm essentially just kind of cleaning this up before we go ahead and collect some actual data. Now I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna delete the test ones that we have. And that's gonna take a little bit of time for it to go ahead and remove that from the system. So if we go back to survey, now we're ready to launch it. I'm gonna go ahead and refresh my account. And yeah, it's still cycling. That's gonna take a little bit of time, but that's okay. There we go. Now it's cleared out, and that will go away in a little bit. So this concludes this video series on how to use advanced Qualtrics for experimental designs. It is a really powerful and it's a really good tool to use if you're doing things like using Mechanical Turk. There's also some features they can use for dynamic keys, and you can also embed things like mturk worker IDs, so just by using that embedded features as well. I hope this video was helpful.